Hello guys, and welcome to the BEG Maths tutorials. I am Sinbad from the BEG, and I am going to be presenting to you our first ever video. Okay, so let me give you some background to it. My year in school is going to be the first year doing the new Edexcel GCSE course using a 1 to 9 system, which is a change that I think is for the best. However, they've added a few new things to the syllabus, and when me and some friends went online to try and find some tutorials to learn them, there simply weren't any. And I think that because these tutorials are done by people with degrees and even sometimes PhDs in maths, they can be far too complicated for people like us. So I decided to do my own tutorials for the Maths GCSE from someone who is doing the Maths GCSE. Okay, I've teamed up with a group of friends from school. All of us are good at maths. I personally have taken the GCSE, I took it last year, but I found it hard, and the lack of online tutorials was what spurred me on to create this channel. So, our aim is to make tutorials for complex things and make them simple, for everyone to understand. Okay? And we're always open to suggestions on how to make this easier, and you're free to contact us on our website or by email, which can be found on our website, or just leave a comment in the comment section below. Okay, now that's over with, let's go on to some maths. So, I'm going to start with one of the things that personally I find the hardest, and that is factorising. Now, what is factorising? Some of you may have come across it in school before, some of you may never have heard of it. So, let's start with the basics. BIDMATS. BODMAS if you've been tutored on the new curriculum, but back when I did it, it was called BIDMATS. Now, what does it mean? Well, it gives you the order of how to do an equation. So, say we had something like 4 plus 3 times 2. Pretty simple, right? However, a lot of people get this confused because they do 4 plus 3 first. And that's wrong. First of all, you do 3 times 2, and that's because it's a multiplication. Okay? So, 3 times 2, obviously we all know is 6. So, it ends up with 4 plus 6 equals 10, not 14, which would be what you would do if you added first. So, how do we know this? Because of BIDMATS. So, let's give another example. 8 times 2 plus 3 divided by 4. So, what do we do here? Do we do addition or do we do multiplication first? Well, the first thing we do is we check for brackets and indices, but there aren't any. So we do division and multiplication first. So we've got multiplication here. 8 times 2, 16. Plus 3 divided by 4. We'll write that as 0.75 in its decimal form. Only then do we do addition and subtraction. Well, there's no subtraction, but there is addition. And so this equals 16.75. Okay, so now we know how multiplication and addition goes, but what about the B and the I? Well, I stands for indices, and we will cover that later, but for now you don't need to worry about it, because none of our examples will have indices in them. However, for factorising, the most important one is brackets B. And that is the first thing that you do. So, say you had an equation like this. 3 plus 4 times 2. Well, if the brackets weren't there, we would multiply 4 by 2 first. However, because brackets are first, the very first thing we do is what's inside the brackets. Now, 3 plus 4, we all know, is 7. Times 2, 14. This is because we do what's inside the brackets first. However, there is another way of doing this question, and that is write it out as 2, 3 plus 4, and writing this next to the brackets means multiply, okay? That means multiply. So, what we can do, we can add these and then multiply by 2, or we can multiply each term individually by 2. So, 3 by 2 is 6, plus 2 by 4 is 8, equals 14, and you'll see we get the same answer. So, let's now try that with variables. How about we have 3x plus y? Well, we don't know what x plus y equals because they can have any value. So, what we have to do is this. Multiply 3 and x, and multiply 3 and y, giving us 3x and 3y. Therefore, this simply equals 3x plus 3y. Now, how exactly does this relate to factorising? Because factorising is all about taking a big long string of numbers and putting them into brackets. So, it's kind of like the opposite of Bigmas, because you've got to take something like 3x plus 3y and turn it into 3x plus y. So, let's give another example. 2x plus 4y. You can see there are no brackets here, and what we want to do is put this into brackets. So, we see, what is a common factor between these two? So, something times something else equals 2x, and that same something times something else equals 4y. Well, x and y, we don't know what they're divisible by, but 2 and 4 are both divisible by 2, because 2 over 2 equals 1, and 4 over 2 equals 2. So, we can write this out as 2x plus 2y. So, do you see what I've done here? When you expand this out, multiply that by that, 2x, plus that by that, 4y. So, you see, this is how you factorise an expression like this. You look for common factors between the two terms. For one final example, I am going to give you a more complicated one. Say something like 3x squared minus 9x. Now, what can you do with this? Well, you know that 3 and 9 are divisible by 3, because 3 over 3 equals 1, and 9 over 3 equals 3. They're both divisible by 3. So, we can write this as 3x squared minus 3x. And that is factorised, but it's not completely simplified, because there's one more thing we can do. Both of these are divisible by x, because x squared over x equals x, and x over x equals 1. So we can further write this as 3x brackets x minus 3. And when you expand this out, 3x by x is 3x squared. 3x by minus 3 is minus 9x. And these two match up. Okay, thank you for watching. This has been an introduction to factorising, and we'll go on to more complicated examples next time. Again, I hope you've enjoyed our tutorials, and if you're feeling kind, drop us a like or even subscribe for more content. Thank you.